Welcome back. Each year, NCBA recognizes 7 farms and ranches that make environmental stewardship a top priority. 77 Ranch in Blooming Grove, Texas, comes from humble beginnings, but has grown into a large operation that takes pride in everything from their cattle to their grass. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Scott Hoke has more.
In the cool of a Texas morning, Gary Price and his son Gary Lee are moving cattle. The 77 Ranch got its start 36 years ago when Gary and Sue Price acquired their first piece of land from a family friend.
The ranch actually has been put together through the years. We bought the first piece of property back in 1976 from a good old friend of mine named Lee Lowe. He was an old cowboy friend of mine I met first when I was 8 years old, and bought the first piece of property from him when he was beginning to get out of ranching.
The 77 Ranch is definitely a family operation. My husband and I and our son, Gary Lee. I'm fortunate to be married to a husband that loves his job. Every day he gets up and he can't wait to get out and try to make things better.
The 77 Ranch has grown to nearly 2,500 acres today. Because Gary and Sue acquired it piece by piece, their land is in various stages of restoration.
Some of these areas that we know are cropped old fields, we've gone back in and we've reseeded those with native grass mixes and forbs. And some areas, all we've had to do is, through our rotational grazing system, be able to rest those a little bit, and those native grasses, the seed source was there, and then they've really responded well.
I think of Gary as a restoration specialist. We've been able to buy several different farms that joined us, and he could see the possibility that the land had.
Range management, my dad, I think that's, he just kind of has a knack for it. He's a natural at it. One thing he always told me, and I always go back to it, and when I'm out there, you take care of your grass and it'll take care of you.
Taking care of the grass paid off big in 2011 when the Price family faced extreme drought.
There was really nothing green at all throughout the summer, but we were able to get along and not cull anything. And again, we're able to wean all of our calves on schedule and precondition those and then sell them and improve in market, so that helped. But it just showed us the value of range health.
I think the main reason they came through that drought strongly was because they left a lot of grass here when things were good, and they didn't try to take it all. They didn't try to mine all the nutrients out of the country.
Gary and Sue have done a great job to weather through the 2011 drought. They were able to get through the drought without selling any livestock, been able to maintain a pasture rotation, and here a year later we're seeing a lot of good responses from our good native grasses.
One key to weathering the drought was the big lakes and other water resources Gary and Sue have developed over the years. Those lakes have also added value by providing fishing and duck hunting income, as well as wildlife habitat.
What stands out to me is Gary and Sue's knowledge of the land, of the vegetation, of the wildlife, and how they make their choices towards managing the land to benefit the wildlife species, and also produces a pretty profitable cattle operation at the same time.
Another key to improving the forage resources on 77 Ranch is brush control.
We like individual plant treatment because we're not disturbing the ground. We've got a lot of good native grass base here that we don't want to go in with a dozer and tear that up. So if we can do individual plant treatment, then we've kept that grass intact, and it's worked well for us. You know, Remedy and Diesel are a great product together that can absolutely do a tremendous job on mesquite, and mesquite would be our #1 brush problem.
The list of conservation projects on 77 Ranch is long. Gary worked with Ducks Unlimited to install a seasonal wetland. Land that once included a washed-out gully now produces a crop and turns into a valuable wetland each fall. And Gary and Sue share the story of ranching with visitors and school groups.
I have a belief that we need to share stewardship with younger people, and that's why it's so important to us to open our gates.
And we bring out 3rd and 4th graders and bring them out on the land from these urban areas, whether it be Dallas or even the Blooming Grove kids locally. And they come out, and we've tried to connect them to the land through the water that they drink and let them know that their water comes across some ranch somewhere.
The long-term future of 77 Ranch looks bright. Gary Lee is currently working on a ranch in West Texas, but the plan is for him to return home and continue the legacy of stewardship his parents have begun.
It's great that our son loves ranching as much as we do, and when he takes over someday, we'll be leaving it in very good hands.
We like to look at it as we're not trying to conquer this place and conquer this land, but to learn to get along with it, see what it's trying to tell us, and to pass it along certainly better than we found it.
To see the profiles of other regional winners of the ESAP Award, just visit our website at cattlemantocattleman.org.